How to Listen by Jesse Stern and Rachel Sampson. Tilt your head slightly to one side and lift your eyebrows expectantly. Ask questions. Delve into the subject at hand, or let things come randomly. Don't expect answers. Forget everything you've ever done. Make no comparisons. Simply listen. Listen with your eyes. As if the story you are hearing is happening right now. Listen without blinking, as if a move might frighten the truth away forever. Don't attempt to copy anything down. Don't bring a camera or a recorder. This is your chance to listen carefully. Your whole life might depend on what you hear.
Today's message is the powerful union of silent and listen by Donna Smith. It's my pleasure to introduce Reverend Donna Smith as she speaks on the subject of the powerful union of silent and listen. Donna has been a longtime minister here at FOOF and is a beloved friend to so many of us. She leads the Raising Consciousness class right after the service on the Sundays she speaks here. So join her today around 11:15. I'm sure she'll allow time for you to share your experience of her talk on listening. Donna.
Thank you, Allison. I think you can probably, hi! Wow, I am here. And from this spot to that spot, I have lost my name tag. But you all know who I am, Donna Smith. So I can't find it. It's here somewhere. I'll probably find it in my clothing or something. Well, it is really wonderful to be with you today. I wasn't here last month, and 2 months seems like an eternity sometimes. Just amazing. But my drive over was majestic with all the colors and the trees. Oh, it was wonderful. And as I was coming up to the elk viewing point, I thought, oh, there's some elk. And when I got closer, it'd be those clumps of gray or brown grass. And that happened like 3 or 4 times, but finally when I got to the viewpoint, there were some elk, so I got to see those majestic creatures. So it was a wonderful trip. The words silent and listen have the same letters. And I think they have the same letters. Can you see it? Yeah. Because we need both of those, silence and listening, to achieve connecting with others, especially from the heart. So listening seems to be very difficult for humans. Do you think that you're a good listener? You don't have to raise your hand. But I just want you to think about these questions. Do you think about what it even means to be a good listener? Yeah, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I want you to think about these questions because I think most people really don't think about that. We have actually, I guess, developed this way of listening that's really not listening. And we do it just kind of, without even thinking about it. What I've learned about listening is that it requires a lot of practice. My studies and teachings of the nonviolent communication taught me that I didn't know how to listen. I thought I listened, but I didn't. I would be in front of them and I would be there with this attitude that I knew what was the best for them. And sometimes I would even tell them, or I would be there and I would be thinking about what my response was going to be instead of really listening to this person in front of me. Or I would be one-upping. That happened to me. And then you would turn the conversation around to you instead of the person in front of you. Do any of those scenarios seem familiar? Yes, yes. So why are we such poor listeners? Well, I was thinking about that the other day, and we live in a fast and noisy world. The world wants us to fit into its idea of how we should live. And as a result, we spend our time trying to keep up with these worldly expectations. And we have less time to truly be with those around us in a very deep connecting way. Many families, until they go on vacation or something like that, thank you, are just passing each other as they go about their busy days, like two ships in the night. Thank you very much. So the noise and the expectations of the world can make it challenging to find some quiet time, even to be with yourself, let alone a quiet time to be with someone else. Blaise Pascal says, all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. Meditation and contemplation seem difficult for many. And yet it is very easy to listen to the parade of nonsensical words in your head that are running constantly, right? And they're always making up scenarios for you. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. This Michael Singer calls this our roommate. It's in our head, and it's there making all of this chatter that normally means absolutely nothing. The problem is we listen to that chatter. So, and what happens when we listen to the chatter? Fears come up. Because you know what the chatter is? What if? So how do we be a good listener? Well, we must learn to quiet our minds and sit in silence when others are speaking to us, trying not to interject our thoughts into the conversation. Albert Einstein said, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Yeah. So to be a good listener, it's about being present for those that are in front of you. In Unity, we call it holding space. And what this means for me is, especially when I'm counseling, is I hold light around us. It's like I separate us out in this ray of light. And that helps me stay with that person and hold the space and be very, very present. It's like holding sacred space, and you can do that or any other way that helps you stay very present with the person in front of you. To be a good listener means that we cannot be doing something else at the same time. I caught myself just the other day writing on a notepad while somebody was talking to me. And I put my pen down when I realized that. It means focusing on every word the other person is speaking. And doing this has really helped me become a better listener. Every word, just be there with every word. It helps also keep you in the presence when you do that. Now, sometimes it means trying to hear what isn't being said. And maybe gently nudging that person to talk about that. But it also may not be the best thing to do in the moment. It means focusing on watching the body movements, which can tell us a lot about what the other person is trying to communicate. It means asking them to tell you more if you're having difficulty understanding them. We learned how to do that in nonviolent communication. And it means focusing on our oneness, taking that 18-inch journey from the head to the heart. And it means wanting happiness, not just for yourself, but for everyone with you. Perhaps try to put yourself in their story. That helps me sometimes, because that helps me feel their emotions and helps me to understand what they're saying. In fact, we're going to talk a little bit more about that later when I talk about mirror neurons. I remember when my mother, we moved her to a memory care unit. I was there every day. Well, I should say almost every day. You know, I might have missed a few, but every time I went, she said, "You never come and see me." And, you know, after a while, I was getting a little bit testy about that. I was there all the time, right? But one time in my meditation, a very clear message came. A day is a long time for her. That made me understand where she was coming from, instead of, you know, looking at me and my perceptions of that. And it changed everything. It means finding out how you may be of help. And sometimes that help is just listening, not doing. We really don't have to fix another person. Most of the time, we have a hard time fixing ourselves. But just being there can be all that is needed. And if there is something to do, you will know. So it means letting go of preconceived judgments. As Benjamin Mathis said in our opening words this morning, it is difficult to understand those that disagree with our ideology and the way that we see the world. Hear their biography, he said, not their ideology. The way we see the world is based on our experiences and those that have influenced our ideology throughout lifetimes. And we tend to put ourselves in comfortable boxes, and we say that that is the truth. But in reality, what we have done is we've boxed ourselves into these boxes and stifled our learning and our growing, and our extending creation, actually. So Krishnamurti said, knowing is ignorance. Not to know is the beginning of wisdom. What that means is get out of those boxes that we think and that we know is the truth and explore. So going into conversations without preconceived judgments opens that door for learning. And it also requires, as I said before, practice. Just like everything else in our world, we need practice. We need to practice. So everyone's a good listener. You are. But you have forgotten it sometimes. And so therefore it takes that practice. And it really helps when you get out of your head and you go to your heart so that you can sit quietly with someone who wants to share with you. It is actually an honor when someone wants to share with you. So if you look at it that way, it makes it really, really easy to sit there in front of them. No matter what they're talking about, no matter, you know, if they're talking about things that you don't agree with. Just be there with them and think of it as an honor. Scientists discovered in 2004 that we have mirror neurons. They are within us, specifically in the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, and the occipital lobe. And these special neurons are activated under two conditions. Number one, when you have an experience and you feel all the emotions of having that experience. And number two, when you witness another having an experience. So for all intents and purposes, your brain doesn't know the difference between witnessing and having the experience. So think about that. When we're looking at someone who is suffering or having some challenging times, or even in happiness, we are experiencing the same chemicals within our bodies that they are. and we experience it as happening to us, even though it's happening to them. I think that's incredible. And, you know, that's why we feel that sadness. That's why we feel that joy. That's why when these catastrophes happen, you know, clear across the world, on the other side of the world, let's say, we don't know these people, but our hearts are just crying out in sadness and in empathy for them. So these people don't even have to be in front of you to fire those neurons. And I think that speaks to the oneness of who we are. Now, I believe that the chaos and the fear that is happening today in our world has contributed to shutting down those neurons. Because if we don't use them, they begin to atrophy. Fear has overpowered this part of our caring and loving for each other. How many of you would pick up a stranger on a road? Thank you. Thank you. I used to do it all the time. No thoughts of anything bad happening. Didn't even enter my mind. My friend Betty and I used to hitchhike from Corvallis to Ashland to see the Shakespearean plays. We took our sleeping bags and slept out in the park. No thought of anything happening to us. I don't think I would do that today. If I did do that, the police would probably kick me out, I'm pretty sure. But I did that without any fear. And yet the fear seems to have just grown in our world to where those kind of things just aren't even practical anymore. So this connection that we have each other seems to be broken by fear. And that has contributed to the unwillingness to listen to other viewpoints. Now, I know they can seem crazy to us. However, everyone is doing their best. Wherever they are in their consciousness level, they are doing their best. To understand and help each other, we must learn to listen and find ways that will support all beings. One thing I do whenever I'm in a challenging conversation, or if I'm about to have a challenging conversation, is to go into heart-brain coherence. Now, this helps me enter a state of joy and wisdom, and then I find it so much easier to listen to the other person and contribute it to the conversation in a positive way. It is very easy to do, and you can do it in just a few seconds. And I'd like for us to do it right now. Okay? All right. So I want you just to you don't have to even close your eyes, but I do just because it helps me. But you don't have to. The HeartMath Institute has done some amazing research on how powerful this is. And like I say, it's very easy. So let's take a deep breath. Close your eyes or keep them open. Focus on your heart. Breathe in and out from your heart. Think of someone or something that brings to you genuine feelings of love and appreciation. And just breathe that into your heart. And don't you feel better? A few seconds. You can do it with your eyes open. Nobody knows you're doing it. Or you can go into the restroom and do it. But what that does, that coherence, helps you to go into your wisdom. It helps you to calm yourself down. So when you do that before you go into these meetings or whatever, then you're going to come in with ease and a lot more wisdom from your heart than you are from your head. So, very easy to do. We're going to do it in our meditation again later. Our technology is advancing rapidly. And in that advancement, it is reducing human contact. I'm not saying that this is good or bad, right or wrong. But I am saying that it has consequences. Everything we do, I mean, we have free will, we can choose anything, but we do not choose the consequences of those choices. So, do we want these consequences or not? That's up to us. I grew up with a family. They were all around us. We did everything together, meals, and everything was family oriented. And now they're scattered all over, and we hardly ever get together. Very few phone calls, in fact, mostly texting and emailing. So when we do get together on vacations or something, it's just a wonderful, wonderful experience for us. Now, I know that these pathways are efficient for us, like Zoom and all of that. Again, not right or wrong, good or bad, but I miss human contact. And I think a lot of people miss human contact. And when we cut down on human contact, I feel we cut down on the closeness and our ability to connect to people at a deeper level. So I personally find it challenging to listen and focus on these Zoom meetings. And I try to meet in person as much as possible. And I know that's not always possible. But humans want to be heard, and they want their opinions to matter. So my experience has been that when everyone is heard, resolutions and solutions come much easier. And this means that we must learn to listen to each other. And I want to close with a quote by Thich Nhat Hanh. He says, "Deep listening is a kind of listening that can help relieve the suffering of the other person." We can call it compassionate listening. You listen with only one purpose: to help him or her to empty their heart. And if you remember that you are helping him or her to suffer less, then even if they say things full of wrong perceptions, full of bitterness, you are still capable of continuing to listen with compassion. Because you know that listening like that, with compassion, you give them a chance to suffer less. If you want to help him or her to correct their perception, then you wait for another time. But for this, the time being, you just listen with compassion and help him or her to suffer less. 1 hour like that can bring transformation and healing. So I invite you to practice listening. We have a division in our world today. One side is not listening to the other. How is it going to heal if we don't start listening? If we don't start thinking about solutions that's going to benefit all parties? And I truly believe if we could learn to listen, that would go away, and we'd come back together as one humanity, which we are. We've just forgotten. So thank you very much. So let's maybe take a few moments of meditation. So make sure that you're comfortable in your chair and close your eyes. Breathe deeply with the intention of relaxing every part of your body. Allow this peaceful relaxation to flow from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, kind of like a ribbon of soft light. And in this space, bring your focus to your heart. Imagine breathing in and out from your heart. And move into your heart-brain coherence just like we did before. Find those deep feelings of love and appreciation and hold them in your heart. Can you feel your compassion growing? This is the way that you be with other people. No matter what the topic, no matter what is happening, we have the power to come into that situation with this peace and this wisdom in order to make a difference. Leo Buscaglia said, too often we underestimate the power of a touch, a smile, a kind word, a listening ear, an honest compliment, or the smallest act of caring, all of which have the potential to turn a life around. And one of the most sincere forms of respect is actually listening to what another has to say. Let's just hold those words in our hearts for just a couple more minutes. So let's take one more breath. Bring our attention back into this space. And when we leave here, let's practice. Practice listening with intention. Use your intention. Like Allison did to say. Well, thank you. It's really good to be back with you again. And I invite you to come to our class. We're going to discuss some ways that we can move through these chaotic times, especially the election. And we're going to discuss the ways that we can do that with less stress, less fear, and more wisdom and ease. Because we can do that, you know. It's possible. We haven't been taught that, but there are ways. So I invite you to come and join us. Thank you so much.